a very important transit is currently happening. Pluto is back in Capricorn and is going to stay there for the next 2 months. And this is going to be the last time in the next like 100 to 200 years where Pluto is actually within the sign of Capricorn. So we in our lifetime will never experience Pluto in Capricorn again. So basically the next 2 months are happening in the 29th degree of Capricorn, which is an anarectic degree, meaning that this degree is a very like critical degree. Okay, so during critical degrees, a lot of things can happen. And Pluto is the planet of destruction. Okay, so thinking about like what does Pluto mean? Pluto is destruction. And what is Capricorn? Capricorn is structures. One thing I want to tell you guys before we're heading in, I'm kind of like dividing this video in like, first I'm talking about the social and societal influences, and then I'm talking about the individual level. So we have to know that Pluto and Aquarius, or Pluto in general, is about society. It's not only about like human as individuals, because Pluto is an outer planet, and outer planets usually governs over generations, governs over the world in general. It's not only about individual stuff, but still like, you know, society or the global themes or topics are going to affect us as well. So I'm talking a lot about like intense stuff in this episode, because Pluto is just like so intense. Pluto is like Mars, but 20 times more. So basically, this is going to be a very intense episode. I would necessarily say I'm going to kind of like tell you guys a trigger warning, but if you feel like triggered by catastrophes when it comes to like the global on the future, this episode might be like a bit triggering. However, I'm trying to kind of like still give you more hope than fear mongering, because Pluto is a lot about power, and Pluto in Aquarius, which is going to, you know, be there in like 2 months, is kind of like able to give power back to society and able to kind of like create a sustainable new society, a sustainable new world, if we as society are deciding to do that, you know. So I don't want to do like any fear mongering, but still this is going to be an intense episode. I'm also telling you how you can actually use this Plutonian energy for gaining power by yourself. Okay, how you can use and transform your pain to actually gain power. So basically, Pluto in Capricorn means that Capricorn is about society. Capricorn is about structures, okay? Capricorn is about the material world we're actually living in. But one sign before Capricorn, there's Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is all about philosophy. And one thing you need to know when it comes to astrology, like everything works in a cycle. So basically we have like Sagittarius here, and then we have Capricorn. So Capricorn is being born out of the realm of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the energy or the sign of philosophy. So everything which Sagittarius made up in their mind, Capricorn is able to manifest into the material and real world. So this is why politics and structure and society are always connected to some sort of like ideology, to some sort of like philosophy, because Capricorn, structures, systems, is one sign after Sagittarius, philosophy. So basically there are different ideas of how human nature works, and based on that philosophy there are also different theories about like how politics can work, and then how this all, you know, can be set up in actual society. So those ideas, those philosophy, this is all Sagittarius energy. It's happening in the mind. But then the Capricorn energy, the actual material earthy energy, this is when the system is actually manifested and we are actually living in this system. Okay, so one thing about Capricorn is about longevity. So basically everything that has Capricorn nature is going to stay for a very, very, very long time. So basically Capricorn rules over the mountains. So mountains take a very, 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 very long time to actually manifest themselves, to actually grow. You know, it's like millions of years. But once they are there, no one can get rid of them. Okay, so this is Capricorn energy. However, now when we think about like systems in which we live, when we think about politics, when we think about society, of course society does change. Society is not something rigid, something that has never the option to actually change. Okay, but still in society and also in our state we have structures that are going along for a very long time. I'm not talking about like how people feel within the society. This can be like more volatile, but I'm talking about the actual like laws, the actual institutions, the actual system, which can stand for a very long time. But as you might all know, nothing will stay the same forever, and this is where the transits come in. And Pluto in Capricorn rules actually over destroying the system. So now we have this Plutonian energy. We have the planet of destruction. The planet, this is not even the planet of war. Like Pluto being the higher octave of Mars, Mars is the planet of war, but Pluto is like 20 times Mars. Pluto is about destroying, and there's nothing going to be left, okay? And when you think about Pluto and Capricorn, this is all about systems, all about old and rigid structures. I've been saying like for, I think it's like 2 years now. It was last year in summer where I did a video saying this world how we know it now will not longer exist the way it's currently existing. Like the system how it is operating now is not going, it's never really worked, like not for everyone, but it's definitely not going to work in the future anymore. And this is what Pluto and Capricorn is kind of like showing us. It is showing us how we are destroying or how we are able to destroy the system. Pluto is not only about destroying those structures, okay? Not only about transforming them. Pluto is a planet which also rules over having a crisis. So basically, what this energy is about having a crisis, okay? And Pluto only operates when having a crisis. So I posted my story yesterday that when you are at your lowest, things usually flip. Sometimes it's not unless you really experience the lowest of your life. Until then, not before that, but only then you will able to flip and you will able to experience beautiful things again, okay, to experience gratitude again. It's like the universe is testing you. It's like God is testing you. It's testing you. Do you actually believe in God? Do you actually believe in the universe? And then they're going to give you like your manifestations. So sometimes we really need to be at our lowest, and then we need to trust, and then things are able to flip. But when it comes to society, you know, for an individual level, the lowest can be low. But when it comes to society, the lowest is low. It's like low. Like right now, what's happening in the world, I'm not sure how much I can say in YouTube, but like simply what's happening in Palestine, what's happening in Sudan, like what's happening all over the world. Those things are not even the lowest. Like this is, I'm not seeing it right now as the zenith of the crisis, because Pluto can only truly transform once the zenith is achieved. Once the highest point of crisis is achieved. And only then, Pluto is actually able to transform. I don't believe that right now how the world is going, the zenith is not reached yet. Okay, we cannot expect the world to change right now because there are going to be more crises to happen. When we think about Aquarius also, like when Pluto is going to enter Aquarius, Aquarius is about the climate, kind of. So climate crisis, climate catastrophes, like those things will all come, and only then we are able to change. I'm not trying to fear anyone or make someone afraid. I'm not trying to do like fear mongering. What I'm trying to do is kind of like explain to you how the Plutonian energy works, because in the end of the day, you know, I believe that this world we are living in is temporary anyway. We dying, the world dying, it's not going to be the end, okay, because there's something coming afterwards. However, what I also believe in is that we should not be afraid of this, because the universe, or like, I'm taking a bit of religion here now because it's just the way how I think, and I hope y'all go along with me, but I think you can also interpret it into other philosophies or spiritual things. But in Islam, for example, you're not able to be afraid of nothing. Like the only thing you are afraid of is God. And so basically, this is what I'm also trying to tell you, like all those things, they are happening for a reason, okay? And one of the reasons is that this is kind of like a test. I feel like it's a test for society. It's a test like how we are able to kind of like change the structures, change the system. For the last point, I want to tell you like how you can use Pluto and Capricorn to kind of like break up with old patterns and be able to start getting new power. Sometimes I find comfort in knowing that Pluto is about to be in Capricorn, it's going to be in Aquarius, because this is just making sense for me. All those things that are happening right now in the world, and honestly, most of the things always happened, like just because we have no access to social media. It's not that there was never a genocide before. It's not that there was never fascism before, but like now we have access to social media and we can see the things happening in front of our eyes. I kind of like find comfort in knowing that Pluto is going to enter Aquarius, because I feel like this is our chance. And now I want to talk a bit about what I mean when I say I feel like Pluto in Aquarius is going to be one of our chances, actually. Because one thing people forget is that Pluto, beside destruction, beside destroying things, besides not leaving anything behind, Pluto is about power. Pluto is the planet which is the most powerful one. If you have a strong Pluto in your chart, you are able to attract people like a magnet. Like Plutonian energy is one of the strongest energies out there. What is Pluto now about when it comes to Pluto in Aquarius? Pluto in Capricorn gives power to the governmental and social structures. Pluto is about like giving power to institutions, giving power to people who are like old, giving power to old structures. At the same time, Pluto is destroying the structures. Okay, it sounds maybe like a bit paradox. I imagine it's like those old institutions are kind of like holding onto that power as strong as possible and like using and abusing that power as much as they can because they know soon they will not have the power anymore. And then there's this destruction, and we are like currently experiencing this now. But what's happening now when Pluto is entering the sign of Aquarius? Power will be back to society, to the people, because Aquarius rules over the collective. So does this now mean that once Pluto is entering Aquarius, like everything is going to be good? Like, I mean, we are currently seeing that this is definitely not the case. Like in most of the global trends, most of the countries are going to a more like right-winged, fascist energy and trend. I feel like a lot of people are kind of like confused when I think about like Pluto is going to change things, and Pluto in Aquarius is all about, you know, like changing society, because it's not changed yet. And one thing people forget, I feel like, when it comes to Pluto and Aquarius, that Pluto is also about the extremes. So Pluto is about like here and here. It's like there's no middle ground. There is no middle ground anymore. Like you cannot be in the middle. You cannot be neutral with Pluto and Aquarius. You have to be either on the right side or maybe on the wrong side. There's no middle ground. There's no neutrality. And this is what I mean when we say that Pluto is going to be in the sign of Aquarius. It does not mean that the society is going to necessarily improve to the better or necessarily be a better society. It's simply society is going to change radically. And this is why Pluto in Aquarius is also teaching us actually to organize. Aquarian energy is about organizing yourself, it's about networking, it's about getting back to community. Aquarius is not about the individual, Aquarius is about the collective. So basically saying that Pluto in Aquarius basically means that there will be power back to the collective, there will be power back to the people, but be like two groups of people. I think like IJade said this a lot, and she had like also a great podcast episode on her Patreon. But like IJade also said that Pluto in Aquarius is going to be about do I have or do I have not? Because fixed signs can also rule over material things. So basically, who has the resources? There will be people who have a lot of stuff, and there will be people who have not so much stuff. Like it's going to be extremes. Like there's no middle ground anymore. So I'm also saying to you that you're not able to kind of like operate in the society anymore without having an opinion and without being part of one group. I feel like this idea of neutrality is kind of like really being exposed to Pluto in Aquarius, because there's no neutrality anymore when it comes to like anything happening in the world. You know, you cannot be neutral anymore. You cannot try to always find the middle ground. You are going more into extremes. Is this bad? I don't know. If you're like on the right side, it's not that bad. But yes, it's coming with a crisis. But I feel like, as I said, I'm not trying to kind of like do fear mongering. I'm just showing you what's going on, and I'm also like trying to tell you that we have the power to actually change the systems. Because if people finally like feel with Pluto and Aquarius that there's like power to the people, you kind of like be able to change the systems for the better. You know, there's definitely the opportunity to change for the better, but the crisis has to come first. And this is actually something we do not only see in like society, like that we only change when things are getting like really bad. This is something we can also experience with our individual self. But before I'm getting into all this individual stuff and what we actually can learn from Pluto and Aquarius on an individual level, I want to go just first back to what Pluto can still mean. So Pluto was the last time in Aquarius, 1777 until 1798. This was during the French Revolution. This was during the American Revolution. This was also during the Haitian Revolution, also the Haitian Revolution who inspired, for example, rebellions in Cuba and Jamaica. So basically, there are like so many revolutions happening during that time. And this is what I mean, like this can be like a really good energy actually, because it can make people like become really revolutionary, and it can really like awake the society somehow. There's like so bad things happening, people don't have to lose anything anymore, and then they are like kind of like going crazy and things are going to change. This is like what I personally also hope a bit, you know, because I feel like there's so much power that we as people have, and we're not using it correctly, and we're not using the energy correctly. So I feel like, or I hope that Pluto in Aquarius is going to be able to teach us a bit more. And we actually can also use the power of technology, so the power of AI. Power struggles between governments, between societies are also going to happen online. I think this is like very clearly, but even like AI or everything that has to do with technology is going to be used for that. It's being used now, you know. I mean, like Pluto was in Aquarius since last year, so a lot of things we are already experiencing, but things are going just to be a bit more intense. Okay, this was like maybe a bit of a trailer, and things are going to be more intense. So what's also happening, what I find interesting, the last time Pluto was in Aquarius was there was the first president in the US back then, you know, George Washington. So basically, you know, like the structures within the US, within today's US, has been like transformed back then. They're going to be transformed again during Pluto in Aquarius. It's like a return. This is so interesting. I mean, the US had also its Pluto return last year, so the US and their structures going to change. As I said, like just to kind of like wrap it up, what's about for society, like do not be afraid, but like take care of community. I've said this so many times, but like with everything happening right now, being in a network, like being organized, being within groups, like trying to take more care of your neighbors, like trying to get to know your neighbors, this is going to be important for the future. Do not let go of that, because Pluto in Aquarius is about individuality. Okay, but Pluto in Aquarius is also about like being collective within a network. So basically, power structures are a thing, changes of power, like who has power, who has less power. And now with Pluto being in retrograde now for the next 2 months, we are going to be reconfronted with so many difficulties when it comes to politics, when it comes to society, that Pluto being back in Capricorn is going to confront us with a lot of lessons society had to learn over the past like 15 years. And now Pluto coming into Aquarius is kind of like about changing things and implementing new structures. So there is definitely big hope, but also like the opportunity to go either like extremely on the right or extremely on the left. There's no middle ground anymore. And this can be like bad, but it can also be good because it means like total change. That's it, I think, about Pluto in Aquarius. One other thing maybe which is interesting is also like Saturn still being in Pisces. I always said this like before Saturn went in Pisces, but Saturn in Pisces basically means refugees, a limitation of refugees. So Pisces is about refugees, okay? And Saturn is about limiting them. It's about like creating cages sometimes. And so things like laws and everything in general for refugees is going to be worsened. So refugees, no matter they're going like in numbers to maybe increase, but they are going to be discriminated even more. So this is also a thing that we are actually seeing, like since Saturn is in Pisces, like there have been like so many like things happening in Germany. Like I live in Germany, in which like refugees are being like way more discriminated than before. Saturn was in Pisces, so this is going to be enhanced even more. And then Saturn is kind of like completing its whole cycle within the zodiac, and Saturn is going to enter Aries next year. And Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So this is going to be so interesting as well, but this is going to be for another video. However, now we are talking about the individual part. Like, what does Pluto in Capricorn and then Pluto in Aquarius actually can mean for you? And I'm not talking about your rising sign. You can check my new moon Virgo video. There I'm kind of like a bit like talking about Pluto being, you know, recapped in Capricorn for your rising sign. But I want to talk about the general energy, what we can learn from Pluto in Aquarius. Like, Pluto is the planet of destruction and the planet of pain. As I said, like on a social level, like we are going to still experience like really the bad things that are going to happen, like crisis and everything, in order to transform. But on an individual level, you can already experience those things. For you, it might be already reality that you are kind of like currently experiencing like a really bad low. Pluto being back in Capricorn for 2 months is going to confront you with old patterns that might have been very painful. Like Capricorn is about the past, and Capricorn is also about repetition. So basically, Pluto being in retrograde, like what people often don't know, retrogrades are about repeating things. Retrogrades are repetitive energies. So basically, Pluto being in retrograde is going to repeat for you themes which have happened in the past, which were painful for you. And I'm not saying that those things are going to repeat itself, like as the situation is going to repeat itself. But those things, it might be like one trigger, it might be like small things, it might be like you're meeting someone from the past and you're kind of like rethinking this whole thing that happened. And you need to learn something from that. You might be like in a whole new situation with different people that you don't know, but somehow something is going to be like a lesson from the past that you have learned previously, and the universe is going to test you. It's going to be like the final test, the final change, the final thing you need to get rid of, like, because Capricorn is also about letting go of things. Capricorn is, as I said, like Pluto and Capricorn is about destroying your own structures, your own patterns in order to move forward, and the universe is kind of like testing you. So if you feel that pain, I'm not talking about now, and I'm also not talking about necessarily the next 2 months, I'm talking about in general, because Pluto is in general pain. If you've ever felt this kind of like pain, this is like the moment where you can actually gain power. Like, you can literally sit there and ask the universe, I'm feeling so much pain. You can ask the universe for tools and resources for it to give it to you, so you kind of like can gain resilience and kind of like regain your power. You can literally ask the universe or ask God that you want to give them back power to you, the power that you've lost. Because Pluto is all about power. So if you feel pain, you are actually in this moment that you are choosing either I want to transform or I want to stay the same. If you choose to transform, this is going to be painful, because transformation is always somehow painful, but it's going to be worth it, because afterwards you will gain that power. But if you choose to stay the same, things might feel comfortable for a while, but Pluto is going to always push you to transform. Like, this is one thing I learned about astrology, like trends are always happening. You'll never be able to stay the same. Like, you'll never be able to have stability for your whole life. Like, change is always coming. Trends are always coming. You just need to become more resilient. And the more you're kind of like trying to work against that change, the harsher it's going to be for you, the more painful it's going to be, because you really know at the bottom of your heart, you really know when you need to change. Okay? I'm currently in a situation where I know that I'm kind of like changing somehow. I'm a Taurus moon, so I'm just like, I don't want to change. I want kind of like having this comfort that I've had until now, and I really don't want this change happening. But I know at the bottom of my heart that me staying the same is not going to be authentic, because I feel like I'm leveling up. And this is what Pluto is about. Like, Pluto can be painful. But if you're like friends with Pluto, if you're saying, okay, I'm going to change, okay, I'm going to let this transformation in, Pluto can actually reward you with so big gifts, because Pluto can give you so much power. I need to talk about this maybe in another episode, but like, I had so many times where a new change and transformation is coming, and I felt it at the bottom of my heart, and I worked against that, and things happened for the worst. Once I realized that pattern, once I started listening to this like voice inside of me that said like, okay, no, you have to change, no, you have to make something different, I knew things are going to become good, and things went perfectly. So basically, whenever I have this feeling, saying that it's so important to kind of like train your intuition and train to listen to your body, once you kind of like check that, that things are changing and you just have to go with that, things are really like becoming easier. So basically, for like individual level, like, you being at the bottom is you being in this Plutonian energy. And we have two things here, okay? So Pluto is the planet which rules over Scorpio, okay? And Scorpio and Taurus, they are in opposition. So only if you feel pain, you're in your Scorpion energy. Taurus rules over comfort zone. Taurus rules over safety. Taurus rules over stability. Taurus does not want to change. But Scorpio is in the opposite energy. So Scorpio is forcing Taurus to change. And only Taurus changes, Taurus can actually enjoy the resources Taurus have, because Taurus rules over food. Taurus rules over comfort. Taurus rules over money. So only if you are experiencing this crisis, Scorpio, and actually changing, you are able to experience food, you're able to experience like joy, you're able to experience money. So what this is about like the Scorpion Taurus axis, is that Scorpion energy, which rules over pain, rules also over power. And so this is why I'm saying, literally, when people break up with someone, when you are like in really big pain, when you're like breaking up, when you're having heartbreak, this is the time that you are going to receive your biggest glow up, because this is the time where you activate the Scorpion energy. When you really feel like you are dying because of pain, because of heartbreak, you are actually able to achieve Taurus, the biggest material and physical, and I don't know what kind of gifts the world has to offer to you. I feel like on an individual level, this is all about like, money and beauty and love and, material goods somehow. Okay. But on a social level, like when society experiences like pure pain, they're also able to achieve this kind of like stability. And Taurus is all about nature as well. So this has a lot to do with nature and how we are dealing with nature and how we are like dealing with animals and food and everything. can be like so big. Like on society, like interpreting this Plutonian energy based on society, this is like so interesting actually, because it goes like beyond worlds you actually can think of. However, on a social level, you can just remember that it's about like, you know, you experiencing pain and you're using this pain to gain money, to gain beauty, to gain whatever you want to gain. Okay, you're literally telling the universe, I'm in pain. You have to pay me back somehow. Like you can say it in a nicer way, you know, but like just saying in general that you deserve when you're in situations of pain, that you also like can ask for something because you're in the position to do that. This season, like from October to November, is going to be a very intense season because of the eclipse season and Pluto is being retrograde. But then afterwards, we will have Pluto in Aquarius back. Saturn is going to be in a direct motion again. So things can be, you know, go a bit up again. So this eclipse season is kind of like a trailer for your future. So what you need to do, like during the eclipse season, and I'm going to make a post on that as well. Like you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok. Like I post there, especially on Instagram and my stories more often stuff. But basically what you have to do, like during this eclipse season, and it's starting with the next full moon, you need to analyze what is triggering you from the past, what patterns are repeating. Maybe like there's something suddenly becoming so painful for you and you don't know why, because this thing hasn't touched you in like the past years, but now it's touching you because now Pluto is kind of like doing its last movement during through the sign of Capricorn. So basically this is about the last 15 years. If you have, for example, Capricorn in the 11th house and now you have Pluto retrograde in Capricorn, it might be that you will meet friends from the past, or like you will feel that trigger. And when it comes to fitting into society, fitting into communities, fitting into some sort of networks, and then suddenly you feel this pain back then from high school where people did not let you into that kind of like community. And so now you're feeling this pain. And then this is like not a sign that you will never fit ever in again in communities. This is a sign for you to kind of like break patterns. Why is this painful? Why is this still painful after so many years? So this is actually a really great time to think about triggers, things that are really painful. As I said, like check out my new moon video if you want to know like in which house Pluto is. If you don't really find it, or if you want to have no more information about like where Pluto is in your chart, let me know in the comments and I will make a story on that on Instagram or make another small video. So, but basically you can just simply reflect the situations. Sometimes it's a bit complicated because Pluto is never sitting alone in your chart. So you might have a Pluto moon conjunction, and this is going to be also about your mother, even though Pluto is not going to be in the house in which the mother is represented. So basically this is why I'm saying it's a bit hard to kind of like know this if you're not able to read your birth chart. However, this is what I mean, like you need to analyze. If you don't know how to read your chart, like you can still listen to my shit, because I try to make it the way that you can go through life, still use astrology without knowing anything about your birth chart, because you know the principles and philosophy behind astrology. So basically saying, go around, check out what's happening, what's painful for you, where are your triggers, which structures you need to kind of like get rid of, and how can you create new structures. Level up your technology, like really throw away all technology. I mean like gift it away. Like think about like what kind of like technology you can kind of like get to level up a bit, considering that. Pluto in Aquarius is about like making new friends, organizing yourself, you know, thinking about community. Then you kind of like can even like gain power through that. Power through social media, power through the internet, maybe even too much power. Like sometimes you may be like not even able to handle that power. All right, one last thing. This is like especially true if you have any planets in 0-degree Aquarius or 29th degree Capricorn. If you have like planets in cardinal signs, which are Libra, Cancer, Capricorn, and Aries, in the 29th degree, or if you have any fixed signs, Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, or Scorpio in the 0-degree, this is going to be especially important for you. All right, for every other sign, there might be like also things that might be interesting. You know, if you have, for example, an inconjunction between Libra and Pluto, this could be also a thing. So basically, if you have any a sign in 29th or 0-degree, but especially in those signs I've been like previously saying, this might be especially for you. But in general, this is about society. In general, this can be happening to all of you, because the principles of astrology always work. Whenever you're feeling pain, whenever we are feeling pain, you are activating Pluto. No matter what degree, no matter what planet is like moving around. Whenever you are feeling pain, you are activating Pluto. So whenever you are feeling pain, you are able to transform. You are able to regain power. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you liked this video. I kind of like tried a new lighting and I got this kind of like cute microphone. So I hope this was like, I don't know, improving the quality of my videos. And I'm glad to see you again. Thank you so much for 1,000 followers. I'm so excited and I kind of like really enjoy doing those videos. So see you in the next video. Bye bye.